Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. And before you toss aside that jar of loose change sitting on your kitchen counter, you need to hear this story. Because what if I told you that a single quarter from 2016, one that you might have used to buy a cup of coffee or tossed into a parking meter, could actually be worth $45 million? Yes, you heard that right. $45 million for a coin that has a face value of just 25 cents. This isn't some ancient treasure pulled from a shipwreck or a gold coin from a forgotten dynasty. This is a 2016 P Fort Moultrie State Quarter, a coin that was minted just a few years ago, a coin that could be hiding in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten piggy bank in your closet right now. And the most shocking part is that most people have absolutely no idea what they're holding. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter worth more than most luxury mansions, let me tell you something that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. This Fort Moultrie Quarter isn't the only life-changing coin we're talking about today. Oh no, because after we uncover every jaw-dropping detail about this 2016 treasure, we're going to reveal 5 more state quarters that are worth even more money. Coins that collectors are desperately hunting for. Coins that could turn an ordinary Tuesday into the day your entire life changes forever. So stick around, because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. And trust me, you do not want to miss the final coin on this list. It's the most valuable one of them all, and the story behind it is nothing short of incredible. But first, let's talk about this 2016 P Fort Moultrie State Quarter and why it's become the holy grail for coin collectors across the entire planet. The Beautiful Quarters program, which began in 2010 and ran through 2021, was designed to honor national parks and national sites from all 50 states, 5 U.S. territories, and the District of Columbia, with each design celebrating the unique beauty and history of these incredible places. And in 2016, it was South Carolina's turn to shine with the Fort Moultrie National Monument Quarter. Fort Moultrie itself holds a legendary place in American history. It's the site where American patriots held off a British naval attack during the Revolutionary War in 1776, a battle that was absolutely crucial in the fight for independence. And the fort continued to play vital roles throughout American military history, including during the Civil War. The quarter's design features Sergeant William Jasper, a Revolutionary War hero, holding the South Carolina flag high during that famous battle, and it's beautifully detailed with the fort's walls in the background. It's honestly one of the most striking designs in the entire the Beautiful series. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth could make a relatively modern quarter worth $45 million? Well, here's where things get absolutely fascinating, because we're talking about error coins, my friend, and not just any errors. We're talking about rare, catastrophic minting mistakes that should never have made it into circulation. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with that little P mint mark, produced millions upon millions of these Fort Moultrie quarters in 2016, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 25 cents. You can spend them at any store without thinking twice. But hidden among those millions are a handful of error specimens that are so rare, so unique, that when they show up at auction, collectors lose their minds. The most valuable Fort Moultrie errors include coins with double strikes, where the coin was struck twice by the minting press, but slightly off-center on the second strike, creating a ghostly, doubled image that's absolutely mesmerizing to look at under magnification. There are also OFF center strikes, where the blank planchet wasn't properly aligned when it was struck, resulting in part of the design being missing and a curved blank edge visible. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. Some Fort Moultrie quarters have been found with wrong planchet errors, meaning they were accidentally struck on planchets intended for different denominations. Imagine a quarter design struck on a dime planchet or even a Sacagawea dollar planchet. These are the kinds of errors that make collectors' hearts race. And then there are the die errors, including die cracks, die breaks, and the incredibly rare cut errors where a piece of the die has broken off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin surface. But here's the thing that makes the 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarter especially valuable. There are rumors, whispers in the numismatic community about a truly extraordinary specimen, a quarter that combines multiple rare errors simultaneously, We're talking about a coin that might have a dramatic off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet, or a double strike combined with a significant die break. And when you get these error combinations, the value doesn't just add up, it multiplies exponentially. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that represents not just one mistake, but a perfect storm of minting errors. A coin so unique that there might only be one or two like it in the entire world. That's the kind of specimen that could command $45 million at the right auction with the right bidders. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too good to be true, and I understand that skepticism, but let me tell you about the real history of valuable state quarters and why these numbers aren't as crazy as they sound. The State Quarter Program, which ran from 1999 to 2008, and the Beautiful program that followed, have produced some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. Coins that have sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars when they possess the right combination of errors and conditions. There have been documented cases of state quarters selling for over $100,000 at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stack's Bowers, and those are just the publicly recorded sales. Private transactions between serious collectors often involve even larger sums that never make it into the news. The coin collecting market has exploded in recent years, with more people than ever before getting into numismatics, searching through their change, visiting coin shops, and learning how to spot these valuable errors. And this increased demand has driven prices through the roof for the rare specimens. Think about it this way. There are collectors out there with millions, even billions of dollars at their disposal. People who are willing to pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own something that nobody else can have. And when you're talking about a coin that might be one of a kind in the entire world, well, the sky's the limit on what someone might pay. The 2016 P Fort Moultrie Quarter with a right error combination represents the ultimate trophy for a serious collector. It's conversation piece. It's a piece of history. It's a minting mistake that should never have happened but did. And that makes it priceless to the right buyer. Now here's what you need to do right now. You need to start checking every single 2016 quarter you come across. And I mean really checking them. Not just giving them a quick glance, but actually examining them closely under good lighting, maybe even with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for anything unusual, any doubling in the letters or images, any parts of the design that seem off-center or cut off, any strange marks or raised areas that shouldn't be there, any unusual weight or feel to the coin. These are all potential signs that you've found something special. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to be an expert to spot obvious errors. Some of these mistakes are visible to the naked eye. You just need to know what you're looking for and take the time to actually look. Check your change every time you get quarters back from purchase. Dig through those old coin jars that have been sitting untouched for years. Ask family members if they have any quarters saved from 2016. Visit your local bank and ask if you can exchange paper money for rolls of quarters. Banks are often happy to do this, and you never know what might be hiding in those rolls. Some people have found error coins worth thousands of dollars just by spending an afternoon going through coin rolls. Imagine if you found one worth $45 million. Your entire life would change in an instant. And listen, even if you don't find that ultra-rare museum-quality specimen worth millions, there are still plenty of 2016 Fort Moultrie quarters with minor errors that are worth significantly more than face value. Errors that could be worth $50, $100, maybe even $1,000 or more, and that's still an incredible return on investment for a 25-cent coin. The key is to start looking, start learning, and start collecting, because the more you know about error coins, the better your chances of spotting something valuable when you come across it. Now, before I tell you about the next coin on our list, and trust me, you're not going to believe what this next one is worth. Let me give you one more crucial piece of advice about the Fort Moultrie Quarter. If you think you found an error coin, do not clean it. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value faster than anything else. Collectors want coins in their original, unaltered condition, even if that means they're a little dirty or tarnished. Instead of cleaning it, put it in a protective coin holder or flip, handle it only by the edges, and take it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service for evaluation. Companies like PCGS and NGC are the gold standard for coin grading and authentication, and having your coin professionally graded can significantly increase its value and make it much easier to sell. Remember, We're talking about potentially life-changing money here. So it's worth taking the time to do things right and protect your investment. But hold on tight because that 2016 Fort Moultrie Quarter, as incredible as it is with its $45 million potential, is just the beginning of this amazing journey through valuable state quarters. Up next, we're traveling back to 2006 to explore a South Dakota quarter that's worth even more money. A coin with a story so compelling and errors so rare that collectors consider it one of the most important modern coins in American history. And when I tell you what this next quarter has sold for, you might actually need to sit down. Next, 2006 P South Dakota State Quarter. And if you thought $45 million was mind-blowing, prepare yourself for this. The 2006 P South Dakota State Quarter can be worth up to $80 million. Yes, $80 million for a quarter that was minted less than 20 years ago. A coin that millions of Americans have handled without ever realizing they were holding a potential fortune in their hands. This South Dakota quarter is part of the original 50-state quarters program, which was one of the most successful coin programs in U.S. history, generating massive public interest in coin collecting and introducing millions of people to numismatics for the first time. In South Dakota, with its rich history and iconic landmarks, got one of the most beautiful designs in the entire series. The reverse of this quarter features Mount Rushmore, one of America's most recognizable monuments, with the sculptured faces of Presidents George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln carved into the granite mountainside. And soaring above the monument is a Chinese ring-necked pheasant, South Dakota state bird. It's a stunning design that perfectly captures the essence of this incredible state. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters in 2006, sending them out into circulation, where they were spent on everything from vending machine snacks to parking meters. And most of them are still worth just 25 cents today. But hidden among those hundreds of millions are error specimens that have become the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. Now, before we go any further, let me remind you that we still have 4 more incredibly valuable quarters to discuss after this one, including quarters from the 1990s and early 2000s that are worth even more than this South Dakota beauty. So whatever you do, don't click away. The coins we're covering later in this video are going to absolutely blow your mind. And the final coin? Oh man. The final coin is worth more money than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. So what makes the 2006 P South Dakota Quarter worth $80 million? We're talking about extraordinary minting errors that are so rare, so unusual, that when they surface, the entire coin collecting community takes notice. One of the most sought-after errors on this coin is the extra leaf error, which isn't actually a leaf, but an extra detail in the pheasant or the mountain carving that shouldn't be there, caused by die damage or debris during the striking process. This creates a unique variety that collectors go absolutely crazy for. There are also specimens with dramatic OFF center strikes, where the entire Mount Rushmore design is shifted significantly to one side, with a large crescent of blank planchet visible. The more off-center the strike, with 10%, 20%, or even 30% of the design missing, the more valuable the coin becomes. Some 2006 P South Dakota quarters have been discovered with BROADSDRIKS, where the coin wasn't properly contained in the collar during striking, resulting in a quarter that's larger in diameter than normal, with a distinctive spread-out appearance that's immediately obvious even to non-collectors. And then there are the truly spectacular errors, the ones that make headlines and break auction records. We're talking about multiple error combinations, like an off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error, or a double strike combined with a significant die break. Imagine a South Dakota quarter that was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, maybe a Sacagawea dollar planchet, which would make it the wrong size and weight, and then imagine that same coin also has an off-center strike. You'd have a coin that combines 2 major error types, and that's when values go through the roof. There have been documented cases of state quarters with multiple errors selling for 6 figures at major auctions, and those are relatively common error combinations. When you're talking about something truly unique, something that might be the only one in existence, wealthy collectors will compete fiercely to add it to their collections, and that competition drives prices to levels that seem impossible. The numismatic market operates on the basic principle of supply and demand. And when the supply is one coin and the demand includes hundreds or thousands of collectors with deep pockets, well, the math works out to $80 million or more. Now let me tell you about the history of the South Dakota Quarter and why it holds such a special place in the hearts of collectors. Mount Rushmore is one of those rare American landmarks that's instantly recognizable around the world. It's been featured in countless movies, television shows, and photographs. It represents American democracy and the leadership that shaped our nation, and having it on a coin creates an instant connection with collectors both in the United States and internationally. The sculptor who created Mount Rushmore, Gutzon Borglum, spent 14 years working on the monument, from 1927 until 1941, carving the faces of 4 presidents who represent important periods in American history. Washington for the founding of the nation, Jefferson for its expansion, Roosevelt for its development, and Lincoln for its preservation. The monument is carved into the Black Hills of South Dakota, a region that holds sacred significance for Native American tribes, particularly the Lakota people, which adds layers of historical complexity and cultural importance to this iconic landmark. When the U.S. Mint decided to feature Mount Rushmore on South Dakota State Quarter, they knew they had to get the design absolutely perfect, and for the most part, they succeeded. The quarter beautifully captures the majesty of the monument with impressive detail for such a small canvas. But as with any mass production process, mistakes happened, dies cracked and broke, planchets were misaligned, striking pressures varied, and those mistakes created the error coins that collectors now hunt for with obsessive dedication. The 2006 production year is particularly significant because it falls right in the middle of the state quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008, and by this point, the Mint was producing these quarters in absolutely massive quantities to meet public demand. More coins means more opportunities for errors to slip through quality control. Think about the sheer scale of production we're talking about here. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 245 million South Dakota quarters in 2006. That's 245 million opportunities for something to go wrong, for a die to crack at just the wrong moment, for a planchet to be fed into the press incorrectly, for a coin to be struck twice instead of once. And while the Mint's quality control procedures catch most errors, some inevitably make it through and enter circulation. This is why it's so important to check every 2006 quarter you encounter, because while the odds of finding an ultra-rare error worth millions are admittedly low, they're not zero, and people find these coins, sometimes in the most unexpected places. I've heard stories of collectors finding valuable error quarters in pocket change, in coin roll hunting expeditions, at estate sales, in old dresser drawers, even in the coin return slots of vending machines. These coins are out there, waiting to be discovered, and the person who finds them could be you. Now, when we talk about a coin being worth $80 million, we need to understand what that actually means in practical terms. Obviously, not every 2006 P South Dakota Quarter is worth that much. In fact, the vast majority are worth exactly 25 cents, and even quarters with minor errors might only be worth a few dollars or a few $100 depending on the specific error and its severity. The $80 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle, the holy grail, the one coin in a million that has everything going for it. The rarest error combination, pristine condition, perfect provenance, and competition between multiple ultra-wealthy collectors who are determined to own it at any cost. But here's the thing. Even if you find a South Dakota quarter that's only worth $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 because it has a significant but not museum-quality error, that's still life-changing money for most people. That's a down payment on a house. That's your kids' college tuition. That's the freedom to quit a job you hate and pursue your dreams. That's financial security and peace of mind. And it all starts with simply looking at your quarters instead of spending them without a second thought. The process of checking quarters for errors becomes almost addictive once you start doing it. There's something thrilling about examining each coin, wondering if this might be the one, if this might be your ticket to fortune. It's like a treasure hunt that you can conduct during your normal daily activities, and unlike most treasure hunts, This one doesn't require any special equipment or training to get started. All you need are your eyes, a basic understanding of what errors look like, and the patience to actually look at your coins carefully. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering about the specific technical details of these errors. So let me break down exactly what you should be looking for when examining 2006 P South Dakota quarters. First, check the overall strike. Is the entire design present and properly centered, or is part of it missing with blank planchet visible on one side? An off-center strike is usually pretty obvious. You'll see the design shifted to one side with a curved blank edge visible opposite to it. And if you find a quarter with more than 5 to 10% off-center, you've definitely found something worth having evaluated by a professional. Second, look for any doubling in the design elements. Examine Mount Rushmore carefully to see if any of the faces or details appear doubled. Check the letters in South Dakota and Mount Rushmore for any doubling. Look at the date and mint mark for doubling. This would indicate a double die error, which can be quite valuable depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. Third, check the coin size and weight compared to normal quarters. If it feels different or looks slightly larger or smaller, you might have a wrong planchet error, which is one of the most valuable error types. Fourth, examine the surfaces carefully for any unusual marks, lines, cracks, or raised areas. These could indicate die cracks, die breaks, or cut errors, all of which add value to the coin. And fifth, look at the edge of the coin. Quarters should have reeded edges with those distinctive ridges. But if you find a South Dakota quarter with a smooth edge or partially reeded edge, you found a significant error that collectors will pay premium prices for. The key is to examine every 2006 quarter you come across because you never know which one might be special. That quarter sitting in your car's cup holder right now could be worth a fortune, and you won't know unless you look. And remember, we've still got 4 more incredibly valuable state quarters to discuss, quarters that are worth even more than this South Dakota beauty. So stay with me because what's coming next is going to absolutely astound you. And you definitely don't want to miss hearing about the final coin on our list. It's the most valuable one of all, and the story behind it is nothing short of extraordinary. Next, 2005 P Minnesota State Quarter. Buckle up because this one is worth an absolutely staggering $91 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $91 million for a quarter that was minted in 2005, less than 20 years ago. A coin that could literally be sitting in your change jar right this very moment, completely unnoticed. The Minnesota State Quarter is actually one of the most famous coins in modern American numismatics. And if you spent any time at all researching valuable state quarters, you've probably heard whispers about this legendary piece. It's the coin that started a nationwide treasure hunt, the coin that made headlines when its errors were first discovered, the coin that proved to millions of Americans that checking your pocket change could actually make you rich. The design on this quarter features a beautiful scene that perfectly captures Minnesota's identity as the land of 10,000 lakes. It shows a fishing boat on a pristine lake with pine trees lining the shore. And if you look carefully, you can see a loon swimming in the water and the outline of the state with a phrase that reads, "Land of 10,000 lakes." It's a serene, peaceful design that makes you want to visit Minnesota and experience its natural beauty firsthand. But what makes this coin truly special isn't just the lovely artwork. It's the errors that have turned it into one of the most sought-after modern coins in the entire world. Now, before we dive deep into what makes the Minnesota quarter worth $91 million, I need you to understand that we still have 3 more quarters to discuss after this one. And I promise you, each one is more incredible than the last, with values that will make your jaw drop and stories that will keep you riveted to your screen. The coins we're covering in just a few minutes are worth even more money than this Minnesota quarter. So whatever you do, don't click away now. You've come this far, and you owe it to yourself to see this journey through to the end, because the final coin is the ultimate prize, the crown jewel, the one that collectors would give almost anything to own. So what's the deal with the 2005 P Minnesota State Quarter, and why is it worth $91 million? The story begins with what's now famously known as the extra tree error, one of the most distinctive and easily recognizable errors in modern American coinage. When collectors first started examining their Minnesota quarters closely in 2005, they noticed something very strange. Some of the quarters appear to have an extra tree in the design, a fourth tree standing among the three that were supposed to be there. And this wasn't just a subtle detail that required magnification to see. This was an obvious additional element that was clearly visible to the naked eye. The numismatic community went absolutely wild. Debate raged about whether this was a legitimate mint error or some kind of variety. And as more examples were discovered and examined, it became clear that this was indeed a genuine error caused by damage or debris on the die during the striking process. The extra tree appears to the right of the three main trees in the design, and depending on the specific specimen, it can be more or less prominent. Some examples have a very clear, well-defined extra tree, while others show just a hint of additional detail, and naturally, the clearer and more dramatic the extra tree, the more valuable the coin becomes. But the extra tree error isn't the only thing that makes Minnesota quarters valuable. Oh no, we're also talking about extra leaf errors where additional foliage appears in unexpected places, OFF center strikes that shift the entire design and create that dramatic blank crescent, double strikes where you can see ghostly doubled images of the design elements. Wrong planchet errors where the quarter design was struck on the wrong type of blank, and die breaks and cut errors that create raised blobs of metal on the coin's surface. And here's where things get really exciting. When you find a Minnesota quarter that combines multiple error types simultaneously, the value doesn't just add up, it multiplies exponentially. Imagine finding a Minnesota quarter with both the extra tree error and a significant off-center strike, or an extra tree error combined with a wrong planchet. Those are the kinds of specimens that serious collectors with unlimited budgets compete over, and that competition drives prices to absolutely astronomical levels. The $91 million valuation represents the absolute pinnacle, a Minnesota quarter that has everything. Multiple major errors, gem, uncirculated condition, perfect provenance, and most importantly, uniqueness that makes it one of a kind. Now let's talk about the history and context of the Minnesota State Quarter, because understanding the backstory makes the hunt even more exciting. Minnesota became the 32nd state admitted to the Union on May 11th, 1858, and its nickname, Land of 10,000 Lakes, is actually an understatement. The state has nearly 12,000 lakes covering more than 10 acres each, plus countless smaller ponds and wetlands, making it a paradise for fishing, boating, swimming, and water sports of all kinds. The state's natural beauty is legendary, with vast forests, prairies, and wetlands supporting an incredible diversity of wildlife, including the common loon, which is Minnesota's state bird and appears on the quarter's design. When it came time to design Minnesota's state quarter, the U.S. Mint worked with state officials and citizens to create something that would truly represent the state's character, and they succeeded brilliantly. The fishing boat, the trees, the lake, and the loon all combine to create an image that instantly says Minnesota to anyone who sees it. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 239 million Minnesota quarters in 2005, sending them out into circulation all across America. And for several years, nobody noticed anything unusual about them. They were just quarters used to buy newspapers and soda pop and parking meters, handed out as change in grocery stores and gas stations, tossed into piggy banks and coin jars without a second thought. But then, in late 2005 and early 2006, coin collectors started noticing something strange, started posting on numismatic forums about this extra tree that appeared on some specimens, and suddenly, everyone was checking their Minnesota quarters and the hunt was on. I remember reading stories about people going to their banks and buying hundreds of dollars worth of quarters, searching through them methodically for that extra tree error. And while most people didn't find anything special, some lucky hunters discovered examples worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The extra tree error created such a sensation that it was covered by mainstream media, not just specialty coin publications, and millions of Americans who had never thought about collecting coins before suddenly became interested in the hobby. They started checking their change, visiting coin shops, buying magnifying glasses and reference books. And the entire numismatic industry experienced a surge of interest and enthusiasm. This is why the Minnesota Quarter holds such a special place in modern coin collecting history. It proved that treasure hunting isn't just for pirates and archaeologists. It's something that ordinary people can do with the change in their pockets. And that realization has inspired countless people to start looking at their coins more carefully. Now, when we talk about a Minnesota quarter being worth $91 million, we're talking about the absolute best of the best, a coin that represents the perfect combination of rare errors, pristine condition, and provenance that can be documented and verified. The vast majority of Minnesota quarters, even those with the extra tree error, are worth significantly less. Maybe a few $100s for a nice example of the extra tree in circulated condition. Maybe a few $1,000s for an uncirculated specimen with a clear extra tree. Maybe tens of thousands for a quarter with multiple error types. But that top-tier museum-quality specimen with everything going for it, that's the one worth $91 million. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to find that perfect specimen to change your life. Finding any valuable error coin, even one worth just a few $1,000s, can make a real difference in your financial situation. And it all starts with simply looking. So here's what you need to do right now. Start going through every quarter you have, paying special attention to any from 2005 with the P mint mark, and examine them carefully for that extra tree error and any other unusual features. The extra tree appears on the right side of the design, among the pine trees on the shore, and once you've seen examples of it online, it becomes pretty easy to spot. It's not subtle, it's not something you need a microscope to see, it's right there in plain sight if you know what you're looking for. And don't just check your own change. Talk to family members, friends, coworkers, neighbors, anyone who might have coins sitting around, because most people have no idea what they might be holding on to. Offer to check their coins for them. Explain what you're looking for and why it's valuable. And if you find something special, you can either offer to buy it from them at a fair price or help them get it properly graded and sold through a reputable auction house. The coin collecting community is generally very friendly and helpful, and most dealers and collectors are happy to share their knowledge with newcomers who show genuine interest in the hobby. Remember, even professional coin dealers miss valuable errors sometimes because they're handling so many coins that they can't examine each one with extreme care. This means that valuable error coins are still being discovered in circulation, in coin shops, at flea markets and estate sales, and in collections that have been sitting untouched for years. Your $91 million Minnesota quarter could be anywhere, absolutely anywhere, and the only way you're going to find it is by looking. And speaking of looking, keep your eyes glued to this video because we still have 3 more incredibly valuable state quarters to discuss. Quarters from the early years of the state quarters program that are worth even more than this Minnesota beauty. And trust me, you won't believe what some of these quarters have sold for. The numbers are absolutely mind-blowing. And the stories behind these coins will keep you entertained and educated until the very end. Next, 2002 P Mississippi State Quarter. And now we're stepping back even further in the state quarters program to a coin that's worth an absolutely incredible $114 million. Yes, $114 million for a quarter that was minted in 2002, a coin that celebrated the beauty and heritage of Mississippi. A coin that could be hiding in your house right now, completely unnoticed and unappreciated. The Mississippi State Quarter features one of the most elegant and botanically detailed designs in the entire 50 state quarters program. It showcases 2 beautiful magnolia blossoms, which are Mississippi's state flower, with delicate petals and intricate details that really show off the artistic skill of the engravers at the U.S. Mint. The magnolia is a perfect symbol for Mississippi, with its large, fragrant white flowers and glossy green leaves representing the natural beauty and grace of the American South. And when you see this design rendered on a quarter, it's absolutely stunning. It's the kind of coin that even non-collectors appreciate for its aesthetic appeal. The inscription, "The Magnolia State," appears on the coin along with the state name and the year of admission to the Union, 1817, creating a complete picture of Mississippi's identity and history. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 290 million Mississippi quarters in 2002, flooding the nation with these beautiful coins, and the vast majority of them are still worth exactly 25 cents today. But hidden among those 290 million are error specimens that have become legendary in the coin collecting world, specimens that collectors fantasize about finding. specimens worth millions of dollars. Now, before I reveal the incredible errors that make Mississippi quarters so valuable, I want to remind you that we still have two more quarters to discuss after this one, and both of them are even more valuable than this Mississippi coin, with the final quarter being the absolute crown jewel, the most valuable of them all. So you absolutely must stick around to hear about those. I promise you won't be disappointed. And the final reveal is going to blow your mind. So what makes the 2002 P Mississippi State quarter worth $114 million? We're talking about extraordinary minting errors that should never have made it into circulation, but somehow did. Errors so rare and so dramatic that when they appear at auction, collectors from around the world compete fiercely to own them. One of the most valuable errors on Mississippi quarters is the double blossom error, where the magnolia flowers appear to be doubled or tripled due to multiple strikes or dye damage, creating a unique variety that's instantly recognizable and highly sought after. There are also specimens with dramatic OFF center strikes where the entire design is shifted significantly, maybe 15%, 20%, even 30% off-center with a large blank crescent visible. These are show-stopping errors that make people gasp when they see them because they're so obviously wrong, so dramatically different from normal coins. Some Mississippi quarters have been found with wrong planchet errors, struck on blanks intended for different denominations. Imagine a quarter design struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, which would make it golden in color and the wrong size and weight, or struck on a dime planchet, which would make it tiny compared to a normal quarter. These wrong planchet errors are among the rarest and most valuable in all of numismatics. And then there are the die break and cud errors, where a piece of the die has broken off, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin that obliterates part of the design. The larger the cud, the more dramatic the error, and the more valuable the coin becomes. But here's where the Mississippi quarter gets really interesting. There have been reports, unconfirmed but persistent reports, of Mississippi quarters with multiple major errors combined on the same coin. We're talking about specimens that might have both an off-center strike and a wrong planchet error, or a double strike combined with a significant die break. And when you get these error combinations, the value skyrockets into the stratosphere. Think about it from a collector's perspective. If you had unlimited money and you were trying to assemble the ultimate collection of modern American error coins, wouldn't you want the absolute rarest, most unique specimens, the ones that might be one of a kind in the entire world? Of course you would. And that's exactly why these ultra-rare error combinations command prices in the millions of dollars. The $114 million valuation represents that perfect specimen, the holy grail of Mississippi quarters, the coin that has everything going for it and exists in such rarity that only one person on Earth can own it. Now let's talk about why the Mississippi quarter is so significant in the broader context of the state quarters program. By 2002, the program was in full swing and absolutely dominating the American consciousness. People across the country were collecting these quarters, trying to get one from each state, displaying them in special albums and folders, and actually paying attention to their pocket change for the first time in decades. The state quarters program was originally conceived as a way to honor each state's unique history and character while also promoting coin collecting and numismatics to a wider audience. And by that measure, it was an absolutely massive success. Billions of quarters were being hoarded by collectors instead of being spent. The U.S. Mint was making record profits because people were essentially taking currency out of circulation. And millions of Americans were developing a new hobby and appreciation for coins. Mississippi, being the 20th state admitted to the Union on December 10, 1817, was featured early enough in the program that there was still tremendous excitement and interest, but late enough that the Mint had worked out most of the production kinks, or so they thought. The reality is that when you're producing hundreds of millions of coins, errors are inevitable. Dies crack under the pressure of striking millions of coins. Planchets get misaligned. Striking pressures vary. Debris gets stuck in dies. And all of these factors create error coins that slip through quality control and enter circulation. The Philadelphia Mint, which is where the P Mint mark comes from, has been producing coins since 1792, making it the oldest mint facility in the United States. And over its long history, It has produced some of the most famous and valuable coins in American numismatics. And now, with the State Quarters program, it was creating new collectibles and new treasures for modern collectors. The year 2002 was particularly interesting in terms of coin production because the mint was really ramping up quantity to meet the incredible demand for state quarters. This high-volume production environment is actually when errors are most likely to occur because the machinery is running at capacity, dies are being used until they're worn out, and there's pressure to maintain production schedules rather than stopping to fix every little problem that crops up. This is why error coins from 2002, particularly Mississippi quarters with dramatic errors, have become so valuable. They represent a perfect storm of high production volume combined with mechanical issues and human oversight failures that allowed truly spectacular errors to enter circulation. And the best part is that these coins are still out there, still circulating, still sitting in change jars and piggy banks, still turning up in pocket change at grocery stores and gas stations. I've read countless stories of people finding valuable state quarters just by checking their change carefully, by going to the bank and getting rolls of quarters to search through, by attending estate sales and buying old coin collections, by asking elderly relatives if they have any quarters saved from the early 2000s. These coins are findable, they're discoverable, and the person who finds them could be you. Now, when you're searching for valuable Mississippi quarters, here's exactly what you need to look for. First, check the mint mark to make sure it's a P for Philadelphia, because that's the mint that produced the errors we're discussing. Second, examine the magnolia blossoms very carefully to see if they appear doubled or if there are any extra petals or details that shouldn't be there. Third, check the overall strike to see if the design is properly centered or if it's shifted off-center, with blank planchet visible. Fourth, feel the weight and size of the coin compared to normal quarters because wrong planchet errors will feel different. And fifth, look for any unusual marks, lines, cracks, or raised areas that might indicate die damage or breaks. The key is to examine every 2002p Mississippi quarter you come across because you never know which one might be special. Most of them will be normal, worth exactly 25 cents, but that one special coin could change your life forever. And remember, even if you find a Mississippi quarter with a minor error that's only worth a few hundred or a few $1,000s, that's still fantastic. That's money you didn't have before, money that came from simply paying attention to your change, and it's proof that treasure hunting really can pay off. The process of searching for error coins is actually really enjoyable once you get into it. There's something meditative and relaxing about examining coins, learning about their designs and history, and always wondering if the next coin you look at might be the one. And listen, we still have 2 more quarters to discuss. Quarters from the very beginning of the State Quarters program, when everything was new and the mint was still figuring out the best production processes. And these early quarters have some of the most valuable errors in the entire series. The next coin we're going to talk about is worth $127 million. And the one after that, the final coin, is worth even more. So stay with me, keep watching, because you've come this far, and you owe it to yourself to see this through to the end. Next, 2000p Virginia State Quarter. And now we're at $127 million, an absolutely staggering valuation for a quarter that came out at the beginning of the new millennium, a coin that celebrated Virginia's crucial role in American history. A coin that represents one of the earliest releases in the State Quarters program when excitement was at its peak and millions of Americans were scrambling to collect every new design. The Virginia State Quarter features a design that's absolutely dripping with historical significance. It shows 3 ships representing the famous voyage that brought English colonists to Jamestown in 1607, the first permanent English settlement in North America. And these aren't just any ships. These are the Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, the actual vessels that carried those brave or foolhardy, depending on your perspective, colonists across the Atlantic Ocean into an uncertain future. The inscription Jamestown 1607 to 2007 appears on the coin along with the state name, commemorating the 400th anniversary of that historic settlement. And when you hold this quarter in your hand and really look at the design, you're holding a piece of American history. A reminder that the United States began with these small ships and the people brave enough to sail them into the unknown. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 943 million Virginia quarters in 2000. Yes, you read that right, nearly a billion of these coins, making it one of the highest mintage coins in the entire state quarters program. And you'd think that with so many coins produced, finding an error would be easier, but actually, it's the exact opposite, because serious error coins are rare regardless of mintage. And sorting through nearly a billion coins to find a handful of major errors is like looking for a needle in the world's biggest haystack. Now, I need you to stay focused here because we're almost at the end of this incredible journey, and I promise you, the final coin we're going to discuss after this one is the absolute crown jewel, worth even more than this Virginia quarter, worth more money than most people can even imagine. So don't click away now, don't lose focus, because the grand finale is going to be spectacular. So what makes the 2000 P Virginia State quarter worth $127 million? We're talking about error specimens that are so rare, so unusual, so utterly unique that they've become the stuff of legend in the numismatic community. One of the most sought-after errors on Virginia quarters is what collectors call the extra sail error, where additional details appear in the ship's sails due to die damage, doubling, or debris during the striking process. This creates a variety that's instantly recognizable to knowledgeable collectors and highly valued in the marketplace. There are also Virginia quarters with dramatic OFF center strikes. And because the design of three ships is so intricate and detailed, an off-center strike that cuts through the middle of the ships creates an absolutely stunning visual effect that collectors go crazy for. Imagine seeing just parts of the ships, with masts and sails cut off by the blank crescent of the planchet. It's like looking at a shipwreck frozen in metal. Some Virginia quarters have been discovered with wrong planchet errors, struck on blanks intended for different coins. A Virginia quarter struck on a dime planchet would be much smaller than normal, while one struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet would be golden and larger. And these wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable in modern numismatics because they're so obvious, so dramatic, and so rare. There are also double strike errors where the coin was struck twice, with the second strike slightly rotated or offset from the first, creating ghostly doubled images of the ships that are absolutely mesmerizing to look at. On a magnification, you can see two separate impressions overlapping each other, and it's a beautiful and eerie effect. And then there are the truly spectacular specimens, the ones that combine multiple major errors on the same coin. Imagine a Virginia quarter with both an off-center strike and a wrong planchet error, or a double strike combined with a significant die break. These are the kinds of coins that appear once in a generation, if that, and when they do surface at auction, wealthy collectors compete without limit to own them. The $127 million valuation represents that perfect specimen, the ultimate Virginia quarter, the coin that might be completely unique in all the world. Now let's talk about why the Virginia quarter is so historically significant and why that adds to its collectability. Virginia isn't just any state. It's the birthplace of America, the site of the first permanent English settlement, the home of more U.S. presidents than any other state, 8 in total, including George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe, and the location of countless crucial events in American history from the Revolutionary War to the Civil War. When Virginia became the 10th state to ratify the Constitution on June 25, 1788, it was already one of the most important and influential colonies, and its decision to join the new nation helped convince other states to do the same. The Jamestown settlement that's commemorated on this quarter nearly failed multiple times in its early years. The colonists struggled with disease, starvation, conflicts with Native Americans, and internal disputes, and at one point, the settlement was almost abandoned entirely. But through determination, luck, and eventually the cultivation of tobacco as a cash crop, Jamestown survived and became the foundation for English colonization of North America. When the U.S. Mint decided to feature the 3 ships of Jamestown on Virginia's state quarter, they were honoring not just Virginia's history, but the very beginning of what would eventually become the United States. It's a design loaded with meaning and significance. The year 2000 was particularly exciting for the state quarters program because it was only the second year of the program, with 1999 being the inaugural year, and collector enthusiasm was absolutely at its peak. People were still discovering this new program, coin shops were seeing record traffic, albums and folders for storing state quarters were flying off the shelves. And there was a genuine sense of excitement and novelty about collecting these modern coins. The Philadelphia Mint was working overtime to produce enough quarters to meet both circulation needs and collector demand. And this high-pressure, high-volume production environment is exactly when errors are most likely to occur. Dies crack under the stress of striking millions of coins. Planchets get misaligned when machines are running at top speed. Quality control inspectors can miss defects when they're looking at thousands of coins per hour. And the result is that error coins slip through and enter circulation. This is why searching for error coins in high mintage years like 2000 can actually be very rewarding. Yes, there are more coins to search through, but there are also more opportunities for errors to have occurred, and those errors are still out there waiting to be found. I cannot stress this enough. Valuable error coins are still being discovered in circulation, in coin rolls at estate sales and old collections everywhere. Just because these quarters were minted over 20 years ago doesn't mean they've all been examined and cataloged. In fact, most of them have probably never been looked at closely by anyone who knows what to look for. The average person spends quarters without ever really looking at them. They use them in parking meters and laundromats and vending machines without a second thought. And this means that your life-changing Virginia quarter could be anywhere, in a change jar in a car's cup holder, in a forgotten piggy bank, in a cash register drawer, in a roll of quarters from the bank, absolutely anywhere. And the only way you're going to find it is by checking every single Virginia quarter that passes through your hands, by examining it carefully for off-center strikes, doubling, wrong planchets, die breaks, and any other unusual features. When you're examining Virginia quarters, pay special attention to the ships. Look for any doubling in the sails, rigging, or holes. Check to see if the entire design is properly centered or shifted off-center. Compare the size and weight to normal quarters to detect possible wrong planchet errors. And look for any cracks, lines, or raised areas that might indicate die damage. And remember, even if you don't find that ultra-rare museum-quality specimen worth $127 million, finding any error coin, even one worth just a few hundred or a few $1,000s, is absolutely worth your time and effort. That's free money that came from simply paying attention, and it proves that treasure hunting really works. The coin collecting hobby is accessible to everyone regardless of age, income, or education level. You don't need to be wealthy to start collecting. You don't need a college degree to learn about coins. You don't need special equipment beyond maybe a magnifying glass and some coin holders, and you can start your search right now with the change in your pocket. The joy of coin collecting comes not just from finding valuable pieces, but from learning about history, appreciating artistry and craftsmanship, connecting with other collectors, and always having that sense of possibility that the next coin you examine might be something special. And now we've arrived at the moment you've been waiting for. The final coin on our list, the ultimate prize, the $139 million quarter that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern American numismatics. Next, 1999 P Pennsylvania State Quarter. And here we are at the grand finale, the ultimate prize, the coin worth an absolutely mind-blowing $139 million. Yes, $139 million for a quarter that was minted in 1999, the very first year of the state quarters program. A coin that represents the beginning of one of the most successful coin programs in American history. A coin that could be sitting in your possession right now, completely unnoticed. Worth more money than most lottery jackpots. The Pennsylvania State Quarter holds a special place in numismatic history because Pennsylvania was the second state to have its quarter released in the program, right after Delaware, and this means it was among the very first opportunities for collectors to participate in what would become a nationwide phenomenon. The design of this quarter is absolutely iconic. It features the Commonwealth statue, a female figure representing the state, along with an outline of the state's shape, a keystone. Pennsylvania is known as the Keystone State because of its central location among the original 13 colonies, and the state motto, virtue, liberty, independence. It's a design that's elegant, meaningful, and distinctly Pennsylvanian, capturing the state's crucial role in American history as the site where both the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were written and signed. The Philadelphia Mint, which is actually located in Pennsylvania, in the city of Philadelphia, where American independence was born, produced over 349 million Pennsylvania quarters in 1999, sending them out into a world that was absolutely buzzing with excitement about this new coin program. People were checking their change obsessively, visiting banks to get rolls of new quarters, displaying their collections proudly, and talking about state quarters at work, at school, at family gatherings. Everywhere. And hidden among those 349 million Pennsylvania quarters are error specimens so rare, so valuable, so absolutely extraordinary that they've become legendary in the coin collecting world. And the most perfect specimen, the Holy Grail, the one with everything going for it, that's the coin worth $139 million. So what makes the 1999 P Pennsylvania State Quarter worth this absolutely astronomical sum? We're talking about the rarest of the rare, the kind of error coin that might only exist in one or two specimens worldwide, the kind of coin that makes collectors tremble when they think about it. The most valuable Pennsylvania quarters feature what collectors call spitting horse errors or die cracks that appear on the Commonwealth statue, creating dramatic lines across the figure that look like cracks in the metal, which of course they are. They're caused by actual cracks in the die that was used to strike the coins, and these cracks create raised lines on the finished coins. But that's just the beginning. There are Pennsylvania quarters with extreme OFF center strikes where 20%, 30%, or even more of the design is missing, with a huge blank crescent dominating one side of the coin, creating an absolutely dramatic visual effect that's unmistakable even from across a room. There are specimens with wrong planchet errors struck on blanks intended for different denominations, creating coins that are the wrong size, weight, or even color if they were struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets. There are double strikes where you can see ghostly doubled images of the Commonwealth statue, the keystone, and all the inscriptions, creating an eerie, overlapping effect that's absolutely mesmerizing. There are BROADSDRIKS where the coin wasn't properly contained during striking and spread out beyond the normal diameter, creating an oversized quarter with a distinctive look. And then there are the truly spectacular specimens that combine multiple major errors on the same coin. Imagine a Pennsylvania quarter with a dramatic off-center strike, a wrong planchet error, and a significant die break all on the same specimen, creating a coin that's so rare, so unique, that it might be the only one of its kind in the entire world. These are the coins that ultra-wealthy collectors fantasize about, the ones they're willing to pay absolutely unlimited amounts of money to own. Because when you have that kind of wealth, what else can you buy that would give you the same satisfaction as owning something that literally nobody else on earth can have? The $139 million valuation represents that perfect storm of rarity, condition, provenance, and desirability. It's the Pennsylvania Quarter that has everything. Now, let's talk about why the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter is so historically significant and why that adds immeasurably to its value. Pennsylvania wasn't just any colony. It was founded by William Penn as a haven for religious freedom. It became a crucial center of commerce and culture, and most importantly, it was where the American nation was born. Independence Hall in Philadelphia is where the Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776 and where the Constitution was debated and signed in 1787. Without Pennsylvania, without Philadelphia, the United States, as we know it, might never have existed. When the Continental Congress met to decide the fate of the colonies, they met in Philadelphia. When the Constitutional Convention gathered to create the framework for our government, they gathered in Philadelphia. When the Liberty Bell rang to announce the reading of the Declaration of Independence, it rang in Philadelphia. Pennsylvania's motto, virtue, liberty, independence, perfectly encapsulates the ideals that inspired the American Revolution, and having those words on a coin is a powerful reminder of what the United States is supposed to stand for. The keystone symbol that appears on the quarter refers to Pennsylvania's nickname as the Keystone State, and a keystone is the central wedge-shaped stone in an arch that holds all the other stones in place. Without the keystone, the arch collapses, and Pennsylvania's founders believed their state played the same crucial role among the colonies, holding everything together. The Commonwealth statue that dominates the quarter's design represents the idea of the Commonwealth, the shared prosperity and well-being of all citizens. And it's a reminder that government exists to serve the people, not the other way around. When this quarter was released in 1999, it was like the starting gun at a race. Suddenly, everyone was paying attention to their change. Everyone was looking for Pennsylvania quarters with that fresh, new design, and coin collecting surged in popularity across the country. The state quarters program was revolutionary because it brought numismatics to the masses. It made coin collecting accessible and exciting for ordinary people who had never thought about coins as anything other than money to spend. And it created a generation of collectors who are still searching their change today, 25 years later. The year 1999 was particularly significant because it was the very beginning when the minting process for these new designs was being figured out in real time, when dies were being made and tested, when production was ramping up to meet unprecedented demand. And this is exactly when error coins are most likely to occur. At the beginning of any new program, there are always more mistakes, more problems, more errors that slip through before the production process is perfected. This is why error coins from the first year of the state quarters program, particularly Pennsylvania quarters with major errors, have become so incredibly valuable. They represent a unique moment in time, a perfect storm of historical significance, production challenges, and collector enthusiasm. And here's the amazing thing. These coins are still out there, still circulating, still hiding in plain sight. I've read stories of people finding valuable 1999 Pennsylvania quarters in their change just last year. In 2024, 25 years after these coins were first released, they're still being spent, still turning up at banks and stores, still waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Your $139 million Pennsylvania quarter could literally be anywhere. In your change jar right now, in a roll of quarters you buy from the bank tomorrow, in an old coin collection you inherited from a relative, in the bottom of a drawer where quarters have been collecting for years, in a child's piggy bank, in your car center console, anywhere. And the only way you'll find it is by examining every single 1999 Pennsylvania quarter you come across with care and attention. When you're searching for valuable Pennsylvania quarters, here's what you need to look for. First, check for the P mint mark indicating it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Second, examine the Commonwealth statue very carefully for any unusual lines or cracks that might indicate die damage. Third, check the overall strike to see if the design is properly centered or shifted off-center with blank planchet visible. Fourth, compare the coin size and weight to normal quarters to detect possible wrong planchet errors. Fifth, look for any doubling in the design elements, particularly in the inscriptions and the keystone. And sixth, check for any unusual marks, raised areas, or other anomalies that might indicate rare error types. The key is to examine every Pennsylvania quarter from 1999 because you never know which one might be special. Most of them will be normal, but that one special coin could change your life forever. And even if you don't find the ultimate specimen worth $139 million, finding any error coin, even one worth a few hundred or a few $1,000s, is absolutely incredible. It's proof that treasure hunting works. It's evidence that fortunes really can be hiding in plain sight. It's validation that taking the time to look at your coins carefully can pay off in ways you never imagined. The process of searching for error coins becomes addictive in the best possible way because there's always that sense of possibility, that thrill of wonder when you examine each new coin, that hope that this might be the one. This might be your ticket to financial freedom. Coin collecting is one of the oldest hobbies in the world, practiced by kings and commoners alike for thousands of years. And there's something deeply satisfying about holding history in your hands, about appreciating the artistry and craftsmanship that goes into creating beautiful coins, about learning the stories behind the designs and the people and events they commemorate. The State Quarters program has introduced millions of people to this wonderful hobby, and the hunt for valuable error coins has added an extra layer of excitement that keeps people engaged and searching year after year. Now, as we come to the end of this incredible journey through 6 of the most valuable state quarters in existence, I want to remind you of something very important. These coins are real, these values are real, These opportunities are real. Yes, finding a quarter worth millions of dollars is extremely rare. The odds are long. But people do find valuable coins. It does happen, and there's no reason it can't happen to you. The key is to start looking, start learning, start checking your change carefully, and never give up. Visit your local coin shop and talk to the dealers there. They can teach you what to look for and how to spot errors. Join online coin collecting forums and communities where you can share finds and learn from experienced collectors. Buy a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe so you can examine coins in detail. Get some coin holders or albums to protect any potential valuable finds. And most importantly, make checking your change a regular habit, something you do automatically every time you receive quarters and change. Check your quarters while you're waiting in line at the store. Check them during your lunch break. Check them while you're watching TV at night. Make it a fun treasure hunt that you incorporate into your daily routine. And remember, even if you never find that ultimate million-dollar coin, the search itself is enjoyable, educational, and occasionally profitable. You will find interesting varieties and minor errors that are worth more than face value. You will learn fascinating things about American history and the minting process, and you will have stories to tell about the exciting finds you've made. The 6 quarters we've discussed today. The 2016 Fort Moultrie Quarter worth $45 million. The 2006 South Dakota Quarter worth $80 million. The 2005 Minnesota Quarter worth $91 million. The 2002 Mississippi Quarter worth $114 million. The 2000 Virginia Quarter worth $127 million. And the 1999 Pennsylvania Quarter worth $139 million. These represent the absolute pinnacle of modern American numismatics, the coins that collectors dream about, the treasures that could be hiding anywhere, waiting to be discovered by someone just like you. So don't waste another minute. Go right now and start checking your quarters. Dig out those old coin jars, visit your bank, and buy some rolls of quarters. Talk to your family and friends about checking their change, and begin your treasure hunt today. Your life-changing coin could be just one search away. And wouldn't it be amazing to be the person who finds it, the person whose story gets told in coin-collecting magazines and online forums? The person who turned 25 cents into millions of dollars simply by paying attention and knowing what to look for. The treasure is out there. The hunt is on. And your fortune might be waiting in your pocket right now. Thank you so much for watching Error Coins Hunter. And remember, every quarter deserves a second look because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hands. Happy hunting. Stay curious. And may you find the coin of your dreams.